Y'all, if you have not looked around, people are bombarded with a ton of stuff that they could be consuming and watching and paying attention to. And if you just don't pay attention or work on being good storytellers, your stuff is going to fall flat every single time.
Hey everyone, welcome to the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, where we celebrate the S.O.B that you are, and if you haven't figured it out yet, we mean small-owned business. We don't mean S.O.B.
Listen, we know that as a small business owner, you are working hard on the daily to keep your business fully operational while trying to promote it. And while some days it may feel like the business is owning you, if we're being honest with each other, I bet you would admit that you wouldn't give up the insanity for anything.
Our commitment here at the S.O.B Marketing Podcast is to give you the real talk, what works when it comes to advertising, marketing, promoting your business, and then what doesn't really work.
And Chelsea and I promise to always keep the conversation real. All right, S.O.B small-owned businesses, we are back for another episode of the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, where you get all of the real talk about what works and what doesn't work in regards to marketing and promoting and growing your small business. So Chelsea, welcome back. Happy 2024. Bigger and better, right?
Yes, happy 2024. Hopefully, I will remember that it's 2024 because last year, I'm sure you remember, I forgot it was 2023. So hopefully,
Listen,
I'll be
I'll
in
give
the
you
right
credit
year.
as long as you don't go into June thinking it's still 2023. I'm good. So I'll give you 6
Okay.
months to catch up
Thank you.
and all of that. But
Perfect.
so I'm really excited because I think today's episode is going to be really useful to small business owners who are looking to make adjustments and to tweak their marketing. Because at the end of the day, y'all, you know, the world evolves and changes very slowly. Right. And so I think from year to year, we can get caught up in just repeating and doing the same marketing initiatives because they have worked well. But there are a couple things that going into the new year, we're going to want to, hone in on and really focus on. And so, Chelsea, what exactly are we talking about today?
So today we are talking about marketing strategies that are going to be super important in 2024, going to be popular in 2024. We have specifically picked ones that we think are going to be the most successful, the most useful, and specifically that we think small businesses can realistically achieve and do.
Yeah. And like like I mentioned earlier, they're tweaks. Right. So it's not going to be like some major changes. We're not telling you to really jump off the bandwagon and do something crazy. I mean, these are small things that you could be doing, adjustments you can make to what you're already planning on doing in 2024. And so it will just help to amplify and really step up your marketing game.
And honestly, a lot of these were super big in 2023 as well. It's just recognizing that they're still going to be big, still going to be popular, and maybe putting a little bit more into those strategies than you were last year.
And I'll just say it right now. Some of the stuff that we bring up, you guys may be like, oh yeah, I've heard that before, but are you doing it? Okay, let this be your reality check. Are you doing it? Because I know some of them, there's one in particular that we're going to bring up that I know is going to get the eye roll, like, oh, I've heard it everywhere. And now you guys are reminding me again. But if you're not actually doing these in your small business, then you're missing that opportunity.
Well, Vivian, do you want me to go ahead and get started then? Because
go ahead and
love this first topic. So our first marketing strategy for 2024, you need to focus on, and you've heard us say it a bajillion times, personalization. So in terms of personalization, Vivian, I want to take a second and talk about how everyone and their mama is now doing a year in review like Spotify has done.
You are correct. I noticed this
Uh-huh.
because you love Spotify. It's really nice to look back how they kind of do this like personalization at the end of the year where they tell you what which songs you played the most, how many minutes you played them, what else do they give you, what other stats?
Your top genres, your top music artists, your top songs, like you said. This year they did, well, 2023, they did something a little bit different. It was what city in the United States or in your area, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they did it differently for people in other countries, now that I think about it. I don't know. I'm sorry. But what they did is which city in the United States had the, like, you listened to the same kind of music. Like, you guys had the same music taste.
So what was yours?
Which I got Flagstaff, Arizona, which I
Oh,
don't
looks
know
like
how
we
I
need to
feel
take a
about that.
trip to Arizona soon to see how that rang true.
I'm guessing. Uh-huh.
So to your point, when I think let's connect the dots. When Chelsea brought up
Yeah.
personalization, and you're thinking, how in the world am I going to do that for my small business? Spotify, the example she's using right now, what they've done is they've taken the data that they are collecting throughout the year because they have
Mm-hmm.
this data that they're using for other metrics, right? This is the data I'm assuming on the back end that they somehow tie into, maybe what they're paying some of these artists or what brand deals they want to go after, et cetera, et cetera. The thing is,
Mm-hmm.
they're using it now to personalize and customize something on the user's end, which then triggers the user, like Chelsea here, to say, I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are giving me my year end in review. And as I mentioned, I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that YouTube did it this year. That was something that was new because
Yeah.
they had not done something like this before. And so YouTube went in and took a page out of Spotify's playbook and
Mm-hmm.
did a year-end review. Is there any other company that's done something similar?
Oh my God, Vivian, so many. I mean, even Starbucks and Panera.
Oh, how did
Panera did like
Panera
what
do
your
it?
most popular they did your most popular like meals in 2023, and the same with Starbucks. They did your most popular drink.
No way.
So the yes, yes. So I'm telling you, everyone has jumped on this bandwagon, and honestly, great, because the better experience that you create for your customers, they're going to want to come back to you. And personalization doesn't only have to be like we're talking about right now, this year in review kind of concept. Let's think about how Spotify does personalization all year round. They actually, I think we've talked about it, they created an AI DJ. I love it. It plays all the music I want to listen to. It'll play songs that I've never heard of that it knows that I will enjoy, and I do enjoy them. Every now and then it'll try to play like today's popular hits, and I'm like, no, skip. I don't want to listen to this. Play me the music I like.
That AI is like sitting there crossing their fingers. They're like, please let today be the day that she likes the popular hits. So I think
It's not even that I don't like popular hits. It's just that the music it decides to throw at me, like, completely not even close to what I'm trying to listen to. And I'm like, no, skip.
So tweaking the personalization conversation, then the thing is, like you said, it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
Spotify is not just doing it at the end of the year, but what they're doing is all of this information that they are collecting throughout the year, they're turning around and they're using it to
Mm-hmm.
deliver not information, but music that is hyper focused on the
Yes.
user's preferences. And that's the thing. Think about how in your small business, you could take a preference of a user and
Mm-hmm.
put in front of them either information that's super relevant to them. And so, what this might look like, and we've talked about this in other conversations, is when you're segmenting your target audience, this is a way that you can
Yes.
really personalize. The reason you're segmenting your target
Mm-hmm.
audience, you have your group and then you're putting them into these little buckets. The reason you're doing that is because then you could go in and personalize it a lot easier. You can say, hey, I know this group of
Yep.
people prefer to do X, Y, and Z, and therefore I'm going to serve them content, information, products, services that are specifically tailored to
Mm-hmm.
that.
And Vivian, I think the most important part of this whole conversation is, how are you going to do that? You're going to use your data. And it's something that we talk about almost every single episode, but it's the truth. You need to be using your analytics and your data so you can better serve your target audience.
Absolutely. And let's not be afraid of that word data, because I think I'm just going to put my opinion out there. There's this really
You always do.
negative, yeah, I'm always going to give you my opinion. There's this really negative connotation to the word data. I think because we do understand that advertisers and businesses use information to put forth in front of people, ads and stuff. And so I think that there's naturally this negative correlation between collecting data and then using it for evil purposes, like selling people stuff. Okay. Which is not, I mean, we're talking about using data for the greater good, y'all. Okay. And the reason I say this is there is so much power in building a community. And the best way to build a community is to show people that you are paying attention to them. And the way to show them that you are paying attention to them is to do what Spotify does to Chelsea Lilly at the end of every year, which is to say, girl, we know where you're moving and grooving. We know what you like listening to. And also on the flip end, and this is going to lead into, I think, one of our other topics, is the way that they are using AI to deliver preferences. Okay. So like you said, the AI DJ.
Yeah.
Going into 2024, we're going to start to see an increase of use with AI, and kind of like with data collection, there's kind of this negative spin right now on, hey, everything is like being driven to AI, chat GPT, this and that. I think people are starting to kind of let loose. Do you get this feeling too, Chelsea, where now they're a little more open to using chat GPT for things?
I do. I think I'm definitely seeing a lot more small businesses utilize ChatGPT and those kind of AI services. I do want to say, and we've had this conversation multiple times, use AI as a tool, as an extension of yourself. Don't just copy and paste, because I have also noticed a lot more businesses copy and pasting content from ChatGPT, and you can tell it is so very obvious, and it's going to be a really big turnoff. We're not saying don't use it. We're saying make it an extension of what you're already doing. Use ChatGPT when you can't think of creative ideas, or ask it for 3 examples of a caption and then kind of like piece together how you want it to sound. Don't just copy and paste. Also, I do want to say, let's not think about AI solely in this conversation of ChatGPT and those kind of services. Let's talk about chatbots. Chatbots on your website. If you have a small business website, if you're a small business and you have a website and you don't have a chatbot, think about getting one. Think about adding one to your website. It doesn't have to be really elaborate, and it doesn't have to, I think there are a couple that are free. I'm not 100% sure, but it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. But a chatbot can help you be available even when you're not available, So I think that's a great idea. If you're not already using one, think about using one.
Now, this is probably a bad example because it makes me want to bang my head against the wall, but Verizon Wireless uses like a chatbot type thing on their website. Now, it's hard to get a hold of a person, right? But so to Chelsea's point, if you're a small business that let's say you're a dentist, okay, and there's someone that inevitably, it's after 5 p.m., your dental practice is closed. You know that sometimes people go on the website and maybe they want to book an appointment. Through a chatbot, you may have the capability to provide information to frequently asked questions, or to maybe even book the appointment using a chatbot, which means you're not delaying that person that's interested in booking the appointment. You're not delaying it for them, so they're able to do it right there on the spot. But there are platforms out there, they range in prices. You are correct. Most of them have like a free option, but they're even minimal. I want to say there was one that was like $15 a month. I mean, for $15 a month, if you could get it to answer some of the common asked questions that people are hitting up your business after hours, and it's an extension of you, I think it's well worth it. So check those out. Think outside the box. Like Chelsea said, AI is way more than just Chat GPT these days. Way more.
Yes.
And let me give you an example. And this one's a little over my head. So I'm not saying that small business owners, I think there would be a level of like having to research to be able to do something like this. But when I went to VidCon, that YouTube, get together, I met a group of people.
Yes.
One of the gentlemen is a YouTuber that does YouTubing for, like his content is based on video games. And so we keep in touch. We have this ongoing Discord between all of us. And just to keep us accountable, one of the things he said he had done is he had spent time this week actually creating automations through AI that would allow him to get on a Twitch channel, and as people are entering the channel, it would send like messages like welcoming them, like, hey, welcome, thanks for joining, right? And so then he's able to focus on the live stream and talking to the camera and being personable and do all that while he has this like AI type thing that is helping him with just kind of engaging the community and encouraging them to talk, right? And so there are so many ways that you guys could be using AI that maybe you haven't even thought of. So, researching, getting on Google, figuring out what platforms and plugins and stuff are available is probably a great idea.
I really love that example. That's something that I definitely wouldn't have thought of. But yeah, that's probably a big problem that he has. You can't stop the stream every time someone comes on, but also you can't just ignore that they came on. I love that.
Well, and I thought it was pretty genius as far as what he's doing is he's thinking about his community, right? And so maybe that's the starting point, y'all. Think about whether it's your target audience or your current customers, and think about what automations can you set up that would A, save you time, and B, be super helpful to them, that would make them feel like, wow, I feel like I'm really getting like a good experience, or, their attention to detail is bar none. Those are areas where if you figured the gaps, then you could work backwards and say, is there a tool to help me, do this? Is there something out there that's AI generated or inclusive that can help to fill that gap?
And I think this conversation rolls in very nicely to this next marketing strategy that I definitely want to talk about. So the overall strategy is interactive content marketing. But when we were writing notes for this, you had added a little sentence to my notes that I absolutely love. And I think it really narrows down the entire topic for this marketing strategy. You do not want to be talking at people. You need to be talking to and with people. So creating a two-way conversation instead of just saying, here's my product, buy from me, is going to be really important. So think polls, questions, just interactive content. That's going to be the type of content that's going to generate the most buzz.
Well, and I love going to YouTube University every night before I go to bed, Chelsea. And last night I was watching this video that nails exactly what you're talking about. It was a video talking about the most effective Facebook ads right now. And the way this gentleman portrayed it, and it was such it was so good the way he did this entire video. But he says, there's a formula that you're using. The first step is you're calling out your target audience, like the people that you want to resonate with, right? Whether that's small business owners, single moms, breastfeeding moms, whatever it is. And then from there, you're doing like 3 other key steps. But he said there's this weird thing where testimonials, if you take a testimonial in an ad, it feels very adsy, right? Like it feels like you're sitting in front of a
Yeah.
TV watching a commercial. And he's saying that's not where people are at anymore. What they want is more so a, hey, I identify with you and I understand you. This was my problem. This is the solution I chose. And here are my results. And so the way that people are doing this, and we'll talk about it here in a while, is through micro influencers or stuff like that, where it's kind of removing the business from being in the mix in the middle of it. But to your point, my whole purpose in bringing up that example is people are not wanting the ad style anymore. They don't want to be talked to. They don't want to be sold a product. They want you to show them the product in real life, show them the real results. Like it's a different type of mindset when now you're engaging with people. And let's also loop this back around. We're talking about personalization. And in order for you to personalize, you need to collect data. What better way this all, is intertwined. What better way to collect your data than by doing this interactive content marketing, which is doing polls, asking your audience what they want, asking what some of their common misconceptions or questions are. I mean, this is all very engaging. And so it helps you to build community. And then on top of it, you're not just kind of talking at people all the time.
Multiple things. First thing, I love marketing. It all is related, all intertwines. I love that. Second, I really love the example that you just gave because it leads into yet another marketing strategy for 2024, which is going to be user generated content. And it's just like you were just saying, actually getting people to interact with you. Maybe you create a hashtag where people can use the hashtag and now you can see everyone's content. The whole point of user generated content is one, you, again, like we're talking about, you're not focusing on the business or the product, you're focusing on the actual people, your potential customers. And two, it's going to be about, hey, this is the type of person that we can help with our product. This is the type of person that would benefit from what we have, instead of just saying, here's our product, you should buy it. That's not going to work anymore.
Yeah. And when you're stretching a dollar, because we know so many of you small businesses are, like, especially in the new year, you don't really know. You probably have your ebb and flow as far as like your revenue throughout the year, especially if you've been in business for, 5 to 7 years. But if you're a small business owner that's just getting started and you don't really know what your revenue is going to look like for this year, and you're kind of just tiptoeing around marketing strategies, user generated content is so valuable because what you're doing is you're stretching that dollar. You basically, instead of, and some of it can involve payment, but for the most part, if you don't have the funds to pay somebody to create, some type of video for you or whatever, you can wrap it up or present it to your brand advocates, the people that love your brand the most. So let me give you an example of what this would look like. Let's say we have a friend who owns Cotton Down South here in Summerville, South Carolina. They do, it's kind of like the Joanna Gaines of Summerville, South Carolina. Okay. So they do all things decor.
Sure.
And yeah, she has.
Don't know what that is.
You don't know who Joanna Gaines is. So
No.
she does home decor and all of that. But if, let's say, she wanted to include user generated content, what she could do is hold some type of contest. The contest could be tied to maybe a $25 or $50 gift certificate. And basically, she puts on social media, hey, send me a video of something that you have purchased in my store within the last 2 months and show me how you have decorated it in your house. The person that sends the best video or the most, creative way that they're using X, Y, and Z will go ahead and, you'll be the winner of whatever gift card. But in order for you to send it to us, upload it onto social media, you have to tag us and hashtag X, Y, and Z. And that way, as a business, you're able to find it really quickly. That is one way of you leveraging people that love your product or your business, and then they're able to generate content for you, right? Without you
Yeah.
having to pay them. Now, whether you throw a gift card in there or do some type of, prize, that's up to you. But at the end of the day, there are so many different creative ways that you can come up with campaigns like this.
I was thinking, and I want your opinion on this, because I was thinking about this. I think the change into personalization has a lot to do with having too many options. Do you agree with that? I feel like we as a society now have too many options of places and things that we could purchase. So now we are looking for an experience and a better experience and ways that we can feel important. And that's how personalization has become an important part of marketing.
Yeah, so I'm going to push back a little bit on that concept because of this.
Okay.
I think it looks different.
Okay.
I think it's always been a part of marketing, or just business in general to some extent. Take, for example, back in the day, before you had ATMs in banks, you actually would have to walk into a bank to make a deposit or to do whatever. There was this like weird And see, I don't necessarily think that's a problem. Besides it, like, wasting your time, I guess it's not. Okay, so I take that back. It would be super inconvenient. But there was probably, as new technology and as new stuff comes out, there's like this push because they feel like there's going to be a disengagement of that personal connection, right? So it was the same thing when they introduced ATMs. I'm sure there were some people that were like, I don't like this. Like, now I'm going to a screen and pushing buttons and it's giving me money. I don't get to talk to Joanne at the bank anymore. We can't catch up. I mean, I'm sure it just kind of over time looks different. And the fact that we have so much more technology at our hands is just and I think that maybe is what's different. I don't know that it's because we have more choices. I think it's because technology has evolved to the place where you open a screen every single day and utilize a platform that is tailoring what it is showing you based off of what you've seen and what it knows about you. I mean, of course we want personalization. You just said, Spotify, why every once in a while are you pushing in front of me pop music? I don't want that shit. I mean, you're used to the technology
you're correct.
that you're like, nothing about my music preference should tell you that I want to listen to that crap. Right?
Yeah, no, you're completely correct. I didn't think of it that way. I'm glad we had this conversation. Moving forward, next marketing strategy important for 2024. I love this one. I think this is one that has always been important, but we're bringing it up again just because, hey, super important. Are you actually doing this or not? Focusing on storytelling. And I think as a small business owner, this is such a big one that might sometimes get lost in the shuffle of every day. But like, as a small business owner, you have a very unique story. And people are interested in learning that about you. I have a great example. A while ago, Maya and I had gone to one of these events that we go to all the time. It wasn't the Feminist Magic Market. I don't remember what it was, but we were there and Maya and I were looking at, I wish I remembered. This was a couple of years ago, so I don't remember who the small business was. But we were looking at her stuff. Neither of us were really interested in buying anything. And Maya started a conversation with her. And she actually learned it was a wax melt company. She had wax melts, not candles. And what we had learned through this conversation is that she actually started this small business because someone in her family had lit a candle, fallen asleep, and it had caught fire and burned down the house.
Oh my gosh.
That they were in. The person, I believe survived. I'm not 100% sure. Again, this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago that we had this conversation.
Yeah.
But one, it was important enough that I remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
Two, because of this conversation and us understanding why she started a wax melt business, made us more likely to purchase something. And Maya actually did make a purchase because she was like, wow, that's incredible. I never thought of it that way. And actually, Maya now has wax melts. I don't,
Because of
she
it.
probably does have a couple candles, but whenever I'm over there, she always has like a wax melt going. Your story is super important and you need to be sharing it.
Well, and if there's anything, because I know you and probably a lot of our small business owners out there, you guys may not be consuming YouTube nearly as other people. And I'm a big YouTube gal. And what we know is YouTube, for one, is I don't know if it's the biggest. I don't know if it's surpassed Google yet, but it's a search engine, right? And what I
Yep.
notice is this trend because I'm curious all the time. We're uploading videos and we want to grow our subscriber base, obviously. So, what I look for when I'm looking at these other channels is, for one, I look at what their subscriber base, almost every single one of the ones that have over, like, I'm talking about channels that have over like 2 million subscribers, a ton of people. Do you know what the commonality is? They're all insanely good storytellers because like information, and that's where you and I are making this change on our YouTube stuff. And it's hard at first because we're used to, I'm used to sitting in front of a camera and just delivering facts, and that's about it, right? But to have to be able to tie in like something personal or give them some type of reason to want to pay attention or have like a underlying storyline, it gets really hard because you're having to be authentic, for one, right? You can't worry about the polished stuff. And then two, you're having to think about one step further about how it ties into something else that's maybe not related but correlated. And so that's the one thing I've taken away, every single person. And I love watching these people that are creating these videos, and you're just like, how in the world did they just suck me into 12 minutes on a subject that really I didn't really care about, but because I like the person, I'm like, oh, well, that's a genius way to present that, or that's useful, or I really enjoyed watching it. It wasn't a waste of my time. I think that's the captivating part. The other thing I will say is, y'all, if you have not looked around, people are bombarded with a ton of stuff that they could be consuming and watching and paying attention to. And if you just don't pay attention or work on being good storytellers, your stuff is going to fall flat every single time. Do you have a list of emails that you have collected from past buyers that is just sitting there getting dusty?
Are you looking for a way to build a long-term relationship with people so that your small business will stay top of mind for them? Want to increase your repeat sales?
For every dollar spent on email marketing, businesses receive an average of a $42 return on their investment. And with an ROI like that, can you really afford to continue to let that email list sit there and just collect dust?
Joining our Nothing But Emails monthly membership program means that you can sit back and reap the rewards of sending out monthly or bi-monthly communication while we craft the email and send it out on your behalf.
For less than $100 a month, you can capitalize on this. Start today by visiting www.theseasonmarketer.com/services. So, Chelsea, what do you think is, let's say I'm a small business owner and I'm like, you guys are cray cray. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to tie storytelling in. Like, okay, take the Brazilian wax spa. How would you tie storytelling into that? Like, what does that look like?
It could be a video talking about, hey, this is why I started this business, or this is how I got into this industry. This is what I love about what I do. it's sharing information that you may or may not think is valuable or interesting, but it is.
Yeah, and even
Because it might feel a little weird, like, why do I want to share this? But people want to know. Think of it as you're having a conversation, because again, we just talked about it. It should be a back and forth conversation between you and your audience.
And I think even storytelling, to your point, with whether it's reels or post or how you show up on social media, it can be applicable even in your ads. Okay. So for example, I had this thought the other day, Lazy Boy, we were watching some movie and Lazy Boy has a new ad that's out, and basically it's like lazy people unite. Like, we're lazy and we're proud of it and we're going to be in our recliner and this and that. And I thought it was interesting because my initial thought was, I would have gone a little differently with that. And what I mean is through storytelling, what I would have done is maybe used, because there's a negative connotation to the word lazy, instead say what you deem as lazy is really building bonds, right? With family, a family on the couch on Christmas morning, opening their, their presents. What you deem as lazy, laying on the couch, cuddling with your boyfriend, is actually, the start of a long-term relationship where you end up in marriage, right? And so I think what I would have done is through storytelling, applied it in a different way where people could see themselves and identify themselves as those people, and instead not feel bad about being quote unquote lazy on a lazy boy, but instead say, hey, I'm still like, these are moments in my life, right? But so I think storytelling across, go ahead.
Sorry. I love, because I do the same thing. I'm watching an ad and I'm like, I would have done it this way. Or, oh, I don't really like the way you went with this ad. Or, oh, that was actually a really good ad, but here's what you could have done. You could add it on to it. So, yeah, it's good to know that I'm not the only one who's very judgmental about ads.
Well, and I think because I have this like visceral reaction to, like, I'm just going to say it. I don't think the word lazy is a good way to, like, I do not want to be waving that white flag, right? But what I wouldn't mind is thinking, when I'm reclining on my lazy boy and I have my laptop and I'm an entrepreneur or a small business owner, I'm still tending to my business. It's not me actually being, so anyways, that's just a personal preference. I mean, listen, I'm sure there are people, and the ad probably did fine. So who am I? But
we're probably just not the target audience.
Yeah, exactly. I just think there are so many ways that you could incorporate that storytelling, whether it's the way you show up on social media, how you do your Facebook ads, or, even in your email marketing. However that is, go ahead and start to incorporate it.
Absolutely. And okay, so my examples for the salon were mostly about her doing video content. And that is because one of the marketing strategies for 2024 is going to be to focus on short-term videos. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're one of those people who are like, how dare you? I don't want to do it. I don't want to be in front of the camera. That really sucks. I don't know what to tell you. There are creative ways that you can go about it that you don't necessarily have to be in front of the camera. But at the end of the day, it is the most engaging way for you to capture someone's attention online. You're going to have to do short form video.
Yeah. And maybe if you're saying, I don't see the value in it, let's look at the numbers. You are missing out on a really big segment by not doing video. And that, I think that's the thing. If you're willing to give that up, and if you're willing to say, yeah, I'm just not interested in doing it, okay, well then stick to what you're doing. But if you are serious about growing your small business this year, you have to get on that video train. And we're not telling you that it's got to be YouTube videos or anything long form like that. It can simply be those short form videos that you do on a Facebook reel, an Instagram reel, on TikTok, whatever that looks like. I think the other thing too is it forces you to really get good at your messaging. Okay. And, if you are strapped for time and you're thinking that's just going to waste my time, no. Leverage it. Whatever you're doing on video, turn it into a blog post down the road, right? You can do, take the talking points from that, write something a little longer, but there are ways to leverage your time and effort that you're putting into things like this to make it just reach way more people. And while I'm on this little soapbox, let me say this. One of the marketing strategies for 2024 that doesn't really sound like a strategy, but is probably going to be the most effective one is taking decisive action as far as what you're wanting to spend your time on. So listen, we are past the point of you as a small business owner saying, I'm going to do all social media platforms. You cannot do all of them effectively. And I know, y'all, this is so hard because I struggle with this. Okay. I struggle with this. And Chelsea and I, with what we're doing on the Season Marketer, we're like, hey, we need to be posting on Pinterest. We need to do Instagram. We need to do Facebook. We need to do YouTube. We now have a podcast. There are a lot of things that you can do. You have to pare it down, decide where your target audience spends the most time, and then start there. So say, I want to reach people that are 50 plus, right? Because I have a home care business, whatever. All right, well, where are those people hanging out the most? And then use that platform to start to grow that following. And then once you effectively have that tied up, then you could do another one. But get away from this idea of like, I have to be on every single platform, because you're running a small business. You don't have the time to do it every single platform.
Yes. And so for a great example, we actually have had this conversation. We are now pivoting and focusing on TikTok because TikTok has a very large community of small business owners. That's where a lot of them are. So I am focusing my time on TikTok, making sure that I better understand how it works, how to post to it, all that stuff. So until I get a good grasp on it, that's what I'm going to spend my time doing so that I can get as effective on TikTok as possible.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because the truth of the matter is, even though these platforms may seem similar, they all work very differently and their communities are very different.
Yes.
So what works on TikTok is not necessarily what works on Instagram, and vice versa. Same thing with YouTube, right? So yeah.
Real quick, a really good example, hashtags aren't all the same on all platforms. I see people do this all the time, and it drives me crazy. Whenever I post something that maybe I originally posted on TikTok, I change all the hashtags for whatever I'm now posting it on, because it's going to be different.
Oh, absolutely. And then you have YouTube that's like, oh, hey, yeah, hashtags don't really work anymore. Like, it's fine, you can include them, but really not going to be super effective. So every platform is different. And knowing, here's the thing. I challenge you guys, make it fun, because so many of you out there have this like, oh, I gotta do Instagram. Oh, I gotta do TikTok, right? Like, that's what everyone tells me I have to do.
Yeah.
Make it fun. These are all games. In order to win at the game of TikTok, you have to know the rules, which is why Chelsea is now devoting her time to figuring out the platform and seeing what's effective and how we can show up best for that particular community, because there are a plethora of small business owners that turn to TikTok for educational material and to learn how to, keep up with things. And so there's ample opportunity there. We have to adjust what we're doing to that platform in order to really be able to reach as many people as we need or want.
I do want to say let's go back for a second. We're talking about community. Let's say you're not doing TikTok. I'm not doing it. Can't, won't, whatever. Fine. This is a great opportunity to maybe look at micro influencers then. Because a micro influencer is going to help you. One, you're going to be real niche down. And we've had this conversation for like 3 weeks now. You want to focus on the people who are actually going to purchase your product. A micro influencer is going to help you with that. Probably even, I don't want to say even better, but like probably better than an influencer because they're niche down and they're part of that community that you're trying to reach in a more intimate way.
So micro influencers, for those of you that may be new to that term, it's basically like, we all know what an influencer is, right? They have really big followings on these social media platforms. Micro influencers, same thing, except they have a smaller following, but it's very, as Chelsea said, it's very detailed in the type of person that's following them. So for example, if you are in, let's say you have a new lip gloss, right? And you're selling cosmetic, right? You want to get it in the hands of a micro influencer. What you could do is, instead of thinking of people like, who's a big, I don't know any influencers. I want to say like Kim Kardashian, but she's not going to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only influencers I can think of.
So instead of
an influencer,
instead of picking a big beauty influencer, what you could do is decide what, let's say you want to reach working moms. Look for an influencer that has a large, a following of working moms, that all her content is related to that. Send her a lip gloss and be like, hey, here are, some of the reasons. This is, the lip gloss, it stays on all day, even, you could be at a corporate lunch, lipstick doesn't smear, this and that. I mean, talking points that would be relevant to those people. And then you're leveraging their following, but they're your target audience still, to promote your product without you having to do it. And the reason you want to do this is because what we talked about earlier, people don't want to look at an ad. Instead, they would rather be consuming videos or information or whatever of someone they're following, like this micro influencer. I started following her. Great. Oh, look, now she's, she's trying on that lipstick. She wore it for a week. She said it was great. I trust her judgment because I already have an established relationship, quote unquote, of her. And I know, X, Y, and Z. So it's just a different approach to advertising. If you don't know where to start on this, two of the things I'll mention. Number one is, the cool thing about working with micro influencers is that it's a little easier than working with someone that obviously has a really big following. For one, the budget might look a little different. They may still say, hey, yeah, I'll do it for a price, but that price is probably more reasonable than someone that is, in the major leagues for this stuff. The other thing is, TikTok understands how much this can help small businesses to get their product or service in front of, that key target audience, that they've actually developed this whole dashboard. It's called TikTok Marketplace. And basically, as a small business owner with a TikTok account, what you could do is go in there and actually connect with micro influencers who are open to doing things like this. And so it's kind of like this little hub where they've done the legwork of getting the people on there. And now, it's your responsibility to go on there, reach out, and kind of see what fits. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that they do some of the price ranges up front. So that way, who's going to be within your price range and who may not be. Instagram, find a micro influencer with less than, that has 2,500 followers or something, and ping them. You can have an open conversation to say, hey, would you be open to this opportunity? And if so, what requirements would you have, right? So definitely there are resources now, if you don't know where to start, that could give you a good jumping point.
I do want to say something.
Do it.
We are not saying use any micro influencer that contacts you, because I am sure as a small business owner, you get a lot of micro influencers contacting you saying they want free stuff. You are the one with the power. You find people, or maybe if they do reach out to you, that's fine. Do some research. Do they actually have the right target audience for you? Do they have the right audience so it'll fit with you? Or do they just want free stuff? Make sure that you are making smart decisions and not just saying, oh, this person contacted me, fine, I'll go ahead and send them some free stuff.
And
Be
let's
smart with who you pick.
Yeah, let's also put value to the fact that following and subscribers and all that is not the only thing that you're looking for. So great, they have 10,000 followers and you're like, oh, that's going to be a good business decision. Let's pump the brakes, because essentially what you're doing, just like with any other ad that you would put out there, would you want your ad in a Playboy magazine? Would you want your ad? It's the same thing. You have to know if that person is a good representation of your business. I'm not going to be a pastor putting an ad in a Playboy magazine, because that makes maybe it does make sense. I don't know.
If you were cool.
It's right. I'm reaching target audience. But my point being, like, you have to, just like you would with any other marketing or advertising initiative, you have to be sure that it makes sense for you, that this person is going to be a good representation of your business or an extension of that, right? So you don't want to pick somebody that doesn't mesh well with your business and your brand image and all of that.
And when I'm saying do research, yes, that, but also look at the engagement they have on their content, because having like 10,000 subscribers is not the same as having 10,000 people who are looking at your content.
Right. Yeah. I do think there's lots of stuff that you want to, and at the end of the day, y'all, if you're spending your hard-earned money on this, you're making decisions every day. Would I rather spend my $1,000 on this or my $1,000 on that? And that's where you have to be. Don't think just because they have a large following and, or a decent following, that it's going to be a good fit. It's like anything else. Make, like Chelsea said, make the smart decisions.
Look at all of the marketing strategies that you should be considering in 2024 that we talked about, and be like, I really like this idea. Or, Chelsea was really weird for adding this, so I'm not doing that one. That's fine. You do whatever works best for you and whatever is going to help your small business grow.
Yes. And Chelsea, let me do a really quick recap. We talked about for 2024, some of the marketing strategies that you need to include need to be personalization, interactive content marketing, user-generated content, focus on storytelling, video content, AI, and decisive action.
Yep. That's everything we talked about. I am hoping that you guys take this conversation, you take the conversation we had a few weeks back about marketing plans, and you put it all together and you say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do for 2024. Because I really feel like if you sit down, make a plan, consider these tactics, you'll do great for 2024. And that's all that we really want, is to help small business owners grow their businesses.
Absolutely. And I do want to remind you guys, we are a resource for you. So, ways that we can help you. Number one, if you have not signed up for our weekly emails, sign up today. You could go to our website and sign up for those. Every week, we will hit your inbox, usually around Thursday or Friday. And what we've started doing, what I did for this week's email, is I actually included like a marketing goal of the week. So I'm hoping that by the end of the year, 52 weeks, you have 52 action items that you could be taking week from week. That slow progress is progress. So if you want to put marketing on the forefront for your small business this year, go sign up for our weekly emails. We also, number 2, have a YouTube channel under The Seasoned Marketer, where we have over 250 marketing videos and tutorials for you to watch right now. So go check that out. And finally, number 3, be sure that you are subscribed to this podcast, the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, because every week we're going to hit you guys with even more marketing information. And we're not hoity-toity people. We're not going to be telling you to do any kind of, crazy stuff that's going to take a lot of time. We want to give you guys real stuff, real uses for these marketing, strategies in 2024.
We're here to talk as simple as possible, to help you with your marketing. If you have any topics that you want us to talk about, email us at help@theseasonedmarketer, and go be the best SOB you can be.